The Huawei Y6 Prime is a new release from Huawei coming straight out of March in 2019, and it has of course in the name a lower number from the Y7 Prime 2019, which came out in January or 2 months before it. So how is the Y6 Prime better and what value does it bring here? In this video, we'll be unboxing and I will give you my impressions and quick review of the Y6 Prime 2019. Without further ado, let's get to the video. If you haven't seen it yet, I made a video about the Y7 Prime 2019 and I tested performance and I also did a gaming review about it to stretch the battery a bit. You can find the link in the description below. I got the Y6 Prime on Jumia, and if you want one, that will also be a link in the description. So something to also note is that the box of the Y6 Prime looks quite similar to the box of the Y7 Prime, so it keeps that consistency in branding. In the box, we've got the Y6 Prime itself, which we'll get to later. Underneath it, we've got the box which houses the quick start guide, film screen protector, SIM ejector pin, USB 2 cable, a power brick, and my unit didn't come with a headphone. The highlights as always are on the top of the device, and this device actually has almost the exact same specs of the TECNO Spark 3 Pro. Huawei also lets you know that the display is an approximately 6.09 inches, and taking the plastic off shows you how immersive it looks. I ordered the amber brown version without full leather stitching, and on the back it looks quite attractive. Yes, attractive is the word. It's not real leather, it feels like plastic material, but it's quite soft. You've got a single 13 megapixel camera at the back, flash and fingerprint reader, and to buttress the design cues, we've got golden accents around them. Down the back is just Huawei's branding and some certification notes. You've got the camera up front which has notification LED and a charging indicator around it, as well as the speaker above it which also takes design cues from the Y7 Prime, but it is larger on the Y6 Prime. On the left side, we've got the nano SIM slot, micro SD card slot which is expandable to 512 gigabytes. We've got the volume rockers and the power button to the right, speaker grill which only fires from the right side, and the left is aesthetic, and then we've got the USB port to the center of that. Lastly, we've got another microphone up top and the headphone jack. It took exactly 1 minute and 20 seconds to boot and set up without any additions, and from here we're right inside EMUI 9.0.1 running on Android 9 Pie, and that's about it. Keep in mind that the Y7 Prime still runs on Android 8.1. The Y6 Prime felt quite light in my hand, and when I checked the numbers, it's not as heavy as the Y7 Prime. The Y7 Prime has a slightly larger display, bigger battery at 4000 mAh compared to 3050 mAh on the Y6, and this could also be a considerable factor for the weight. As far as battery though, it should take you about 2 hours to get to 100% from 0%. The weird thing about this device is that the Y6 Prime has slightly better display than the Y7 Prime despite being smaller, and the differences are ever so slight. Specs show that the Y7 Prime has a resolution of 1520 by 720 while the Y6 has a resolution of 1560 by 720. The Y6 has less screen to body ratio but even a higher PPI. However, all that isn't noticeable from just looking at it. Viewing angles were just okay on this device. For streaming, you're capped at 720p, and I've already come to the acceptance with these devices for the price range. Bezels and chins aren't so huge or anything, and of course, notch hiders get their options, but I'd stay away from that. As far as performance goes, first off, the processor of the Y6 Prime is actually clocked higher than the Y7 Prime. They are both quad-core processors, but the Y6's MediaTek processor is the A22 and is clocked at 2 GHz, while the Y7's is the Snapdragon 450 and is clocked at 1.8 GHz. So performance is expected to be faster on the Y6. I, however, didn't get most of the performance out of it though. For instance, I did have YouTube crash a few times while I was just even scrolling without watching, but I had to clear the cache, so you'll definitely not want to be running too many apps at once. The processor is however good for gaming and singular activities, but it shouldn't be overloaded. Face recognition still requires an additional swipe up, but was fast during my use, and so was the fingerprint scanner. The Y6 Prime comes with 2 GB of RAM compared to 3 GB of RAM on the Y7 Prime, but there is also a Y6 Pro which isn't available in Nigeria but has similar specs as the Y6 with a 3 GB RAM. I've got 32 GB storage on here with 7 GB already used, and a huge part of that is mainly apps. The device costs 43,900 naira, which is over $120, and it's 4G capable, and I found browsing just fine with it except when apps crash. Sound quality on the Y6 Prime was okay with music, and compared to Y7 Prime, here's how that sounds. Also, listening to voice was decent as well during calls. I found call quality to be okay too, no complaints from either end. As far as cameras, there's no bokeh mode on here. You only get to shoot in either 1080p or 720p. Basically, there's not a lot of options on here, but we've got an HDR setting. We've got an 8 megapixel camera up front and 13 megapixel camera at the back, and this reminds me of the Spark 2, which has this exact configuration. The front camera does shoot interesting shots, but it doesn't expose well. Low light shots are soft, and the front facing flash also adds effects on top of it. The back camera is also not a fast photo shooter, as you would need very steady hands to take a shot. Video, however, is another side to it. I like that you could record stereo audio, and here is how that sounds. This is the front facing camera video quality of the Huawei Y6 Prime. The windows are open, there is wind noise, there's ambient noise, and the Huawei Y6 Prime records in stereo audio. The microphone is right on top of the device itself, and it records in stereo audio, which is actually a good thing. But the exposure is actually very huge, as you can tell from this video. And if I tap on the brightest part, it actually focuses and does everything else. So because it wants to make the subject in focus, it exposes everything else in the background. So let me know what you think about the video quality in the comment section down below for the front facing camera. I'll also be doing the back camera quality of the Y6 Prime, so let me know what you guys think about both of them in the comment section. There's no image stabilization, optical image stabilization, or digital image stabilization, and if you don't have a properly lit scene or subject, extra effort is going to be required to get good shots. These are my thoughts on the Huawei Y6 Prime 2019. What do you think about it? Do you have any questions? Please leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to answer them. As I mentioned in the previous video, I'll be giving away the Spark 3 Pro to 1 subscriber, so share the video, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.